actually got a chance to speak to some of his supporters who have come here to basically support this process, and they did say that unfortunately not a lot of people were able to make it today, but on Tuesday they are promising that they will be outside supporting the former president. Some of the people that are here with the former president, of course, include his daughter, Jacob Zuma, who is the spokesperson for the former president. His team, obviously, his security detail. There's a lot of police vehicles that are stationed outside just because this is happening today. But we're expecting for this process to be concluded, and then we'll have a chance to speak to the Jacob Zuma Foundation. You remember that yesterday they did say that after laying these charges, they will have a short media briefing with us, and they'll elaborate further on these charges. But like I said before, they are wanting for the state or the lead prosecutor in that case to remove himself from this matter.
All right, Lethiwe Mdluli, thank you for just reflecting on what transpired earlier. The former president, Jacob Zuma, in Pietermaritzburg, laying criminal complaints against advocate Billy Downer. And of course, Lethiwe was just reflecting on the case. Previously, as Zuma's lawyers argued why they in fact wanted him to recuse himself. They were accusing him of prosecutorial misconduct. In fact, at some point, the spokesperson for the Jacob Zuma Foundation indicated that the current president, Cyril Ramaphosa, was in fact aware that there have been these kind of leaks from the NPA, and apparently had even launched an investigation. I'll ask the NPA that question when I speak to them just after 3 o'clock. Do they know of any investigation that's been instituted by President Cyril Ramaphosa against these possible leaks coming out of the NPA? But yeah, the former president's lawyers, what they argued the last time, that judgment is expected on Tuesday. What they argued and what's happening now in Pietermaritzburg, very, very aligned. We'll take a quick ad break, and when we come back, we will take you back to the Pietermaritzburg High Court. The former president is inside now. In fact, I see Lethiwe. Any movement happening there now?
No movement as yet, but I'm joined by a few ladies who are here supporting the former president, and I just want to talk to them about why they are here. Sabona sisi ngicela ungichazele nje ukuthi nizokwenza namhlanje uzobambela imali.
Sabona sisi sikhona lana ngokuthi ukhona ubaba uZuma sizomsupporta kuloko akufikele phakathi.
Nicabangani ngaleli cala leli alihambayo kuyimanje?
Ngeke sisho kuningi since uphenyo lisaqhubeka. Asinawo amandla thina ukuthi singaphawula ngezinto ezikanjalo. Silindele umthetho uthatha indawo.
Kodwa ke imbono yenu ithini njengama supporters akhe uformer president?
Simfisela ukuthi iqala lakhe liphele ngendlela efanele.
Niqhamuka njengamanje njengoba nila ePietermaritzburg
sebenza khona la eMaritzburg Central. Yes.
Ngaleli case?
Yes.
Nina bosisi nizokwenzani namhlanje la ePietermaritzburg police station?
Sisebenza la police station. Sizosupport ubaba umsholozi since kade sivile kuthiwa uzoboshwa for 15 months. But mina iwari yami bekukuthi i-charge yakhona bengayizwanga before. So now ngiyathanda ukwazi ukuthi since kade boshiwe i-charge yakhona beyithini. So nje siyamsupporta kakhulu, siyamthanda upresident, uformer president wethu Zuma.
Ucabangani ngalama charges lawa wafaceayo regarding i-arms dealing ngo-1999?
Noma ngingeke ngakhuluma okuningi, but mina ngimfisela kona nje ukuthi ama-charges abekwe wona awawini.
Ngobani sisi?
Ngoba this is political. Yes.
You believe this is political? It's not something that should be prosecuted?
Exactly.
Why do you believe this is political?
Angithi umuntu mayeboshwa suke bekwa ama-charges. So angizwanga mina i-charge abebekwe yona ubaba uZuma.
Yeah. So Clemens, at the moment, we are seeing some movement from inside the police station, but those were some of Zuma supporters who have come out here to basically give support to the former president. We are seeing some movement from inside. We're expecting for the former president to make his way out from the police station at the moment. But what the lady was saying briefly was that they just need to know a bit further about the charges that he's faced with. As you can see, some of his security detail is directed directing us where to go so that the former president can actually have a way. But on your visuals, you're seeing his daughter, Jacob Zuma, there. They are shortly just making their way out of the police station. On your visuals, there is former President Jacob Zuma. He's just done opening the charge against the lead prosecutor in his case, Billy Downer.
You're watching live visuals from Pietermaritzburg. The former president, Jacob Zuma, who is on parole, has just laid those criminal complaints against advocate Billy Downer. He's going down the stairs now. He's expected to address the media outside that building. We're going to give our reporter Letiwe Mdluli an opportunity to just run downstairs. They have to go and prepare, set up for that media briefing. Certainly won't be anything different from what we heard from the lawyers as they argued in the Pietermaritzburg High Court last month, as they were pushing for Billy Downer to be disqualified as a lead prosecutor in that corruption case against the former president Jacob Zuma. They said he's not qualified to try him, and they were even questioning whether he's got the legal title to prosecute Billy Downer. So the former president has laid those charges. He's now outside that building in Pietermaritzburg, and we're expecting him to start addressing the media. The cameras are setting up there, and hopefully they'll allow journalists to ask questions. In fact, I think this is the first public address of the former president where he will be taking questions since he was released on parole. We've seen him making public addresses before. There was a time when there was a video of him just after he was released on parole, a video of him, in fact, calling on people to vote for the organization. And then a couple of days ago, there was a party and prayer ceremony that was held for him. It was organized by his foundation, the Jacob Zuma Foundation, and that's when he addressed his supporters virtually. You see now there's a table that's been set, and he will be addressing the media, and I hope taking questions from journalists as well. There's singing happening there in the background. Those are his supporters that have gathered there. Letiwe Mdluli has managed to speak to some of those supporters who have indicated and again reassured that they believe that the charges are politically motivated. They said they're there to support the former president because they don't even understand why he was arrested. All right, let's now listen in. I think the spokesperson of the Jacob Zuma Foundation, Mzwane Lemanye, is about to speak. Let's listen in.
Attention, everyone. Okay, we are going to read a statement here, but His Excellency President Zuma wanted to just pay his respect to all of you because he wants to thank you for making sure that the people of South Africa get to witness the event. So he's just here just to wave to you. He's not going to be staying here for the press briefing. So he's going to leave us here to do the press briefing, but he was just here. He's doing his job. Find another place. Find another place. Yeah. He's just here just to say hello to yourselves.
Sanibonani bakwethu. Niyaphila. Abanye bangavuma nje kwenze njani. Niyaphila. Okay. No, ubingelela lokhu kwangempela bani. Ubaba uma ngizosala nani kanye nommeli ngala. Bafunde statement ukuthi besize ngandapha emaphoyiseni. Besizovula icala. Sivulela umshishisi. Bazolifunda ke basho ukuthi lithini lecala kanjani. akukho kunye engizokusho mina ngiyahamba ngiyabashiya la nazana kakhulu nabo nokwazi nokubonda nabo ngikwazi ukubonda nami isiboshwa mina so siyashaya iboshwa siyabonga bakwethu musu kungibuza umbuzo angiphenduli umbuzo Yeah, I will give you.
And there you have it. That's the former president, Jacob Zuma, leaving. It wasn't much of a press briefing. He's indicated that he's not going to be taking questions. He says he will leave the spokesperson of the foundation to be the one that addresses the media and explain why these criminal complaints have been laid against advocate Billy Downer. He says he's a prisoner and he has to leave. In fact, he was urging journalists not to ask him any questions. His supporters now have been singing one of his trademark songs, Mshiniwam, as they were seeing him off. I think the spokesperson of the Jacob Zuma Foundation, Mzanele Manyi, is going to be addressing the media now and basically explaining why these charges have been laid against advocate Billy Downer. We already know that this is, of course, against the lead prosecutor, and the issue here is that he's accused of leaking confidential information around the health of former President Jacob Zuma. All right, let's take you live now and listen to what the spokesperson of the Jacob Zuma Foundation, Mzanele Manyi, has to say.
It's written by himself, so I'm going to read it. Okay. But I'm going to try and read it in third person, as it were. Okay, so just understand it that way. Just try to get the contents. Those that are in the WhatsApp group of the foundation, I will send them the electronic copy. If you are not in the WhatsApp group and you want to be in the WhatsApp group, let me know. You can just write your name and number here, and I'll forward it to you. I've got copies here for those that don't have electronic arrangements. I've got about 10 copies here. So don't take it if you've got a WhatsApp, because I'm going to send it to you in the very next minute. All right, so very briefly. Okay, I'm not going to go through the things about I am a male person and stuff. I'll just go through the thing to the main affidavit, where His Excellency President Zuma is saying he confirms that he is the accused person in the matter between the state and himself. This matter is enrolled, as all of you will know, in the Pietermaritzburg High Court. There's a case number that is written here, CCD 30/2018. And then he says, in the course of his case being argued before the High Court, it became clear to him that there is evidence that criminal conduct has taken place in an attempt to manipulate the investigation and prosecution for unlawful purposes. In a detailed affidavit deposed to and on behalf of the NPA by Mr. Hofmeyer, the Deputy National Director of Prosecuting Authority, there is evidence that in the course of the investigation and of President Zuma's prosecution under case number CCD 30/2018, information was given or crudely put, leaked to people who had nothing to do with the case or the investigation in contravention of the law. His Excellency President Zuma attaches a copy of the affidavit of Hofmeyr, which details the evidence of criminality involved in the investigation and prosecution of his case, and is annexed. He says it is clear that there has been criminal interference in the investigation by persons not authorized to conduct such investigations, which include criminal involvement of foreign spies and illegal surveillances. Former prosecutors, currently serving prosecutors, former investigators, and current investigators are reported on oath by Mr. Hofmeyr to have engaged in various conducts which, when carefully considered, amount to contravention of the National Prosecution Act, Act number 32 of 1998, referred to as the NPA Act. His Excellency President Zuma is advised that in terms of Section 41, subsection 6 of the NPA Act, it is stated there that, I quote, "Notwithstanding any other law, no person shall, without the permission of the National Director or a person authorized in writing by the National Director, disclose to any other person, A, any information which came to his or her knowledge in the performance of his or her functions in terms of this Act or any other law. B, the contents of any book or document or any other item in the possession of the prosecuting authority. Or C, the record of any evidence given at an investigation as contemplated in Section 28. Goes on Section 41, subsection 7 of the NPA Act, is provided that, open quote again, any person who contravenes subsection 6, the one I've just read, shall be guilty of an offense and liable on conviction to a fine or imprisonment for a period not exceeding 15 years or to both such fine and such imprisonment. Close quote. That's what the law says. His Excellency President Zuma says he first became aware of these contraventions of the National Prosecuting Authority after various reports were prepared and produced by at least 2 independent investigators. The first being an investigation of the Joint Standing Committee on Intelligence on the so-called Browse Mole, and the report of an investigation by a Judicial Commission of Inquiry headed by Justice Kampepe. Copies of both documents, which are bulky, will be provided to the investigation team if so required. This criminal interference in the case of President Zuma has not been investigated or reported by any law enforcement agency. Consistent with the pattern of leaks and criminal interference in the recent past, President Zuma learned during the court proceedings in Pietermaritzburg that the advocate Downer SC breached the aforementioned provisions when he unlawfully handed a medical report involving His Excellency President Zuma in an affidavit leaked to a journalist, Karen Mon, and that annexure is attached here. Advocate Downer authorized the leaking of sensitive and private information obtained in the course and scope of his employment in breach of the aforementioned provisions of the NPA Act. His Excellency President Zuma understands that giving or leaking information that is obtained in the course and scope of work is a criminal offense under the NPA Act and punishable by a severe sentence. His Excellency President Zuma therefore report and seek that the criminal case be opened and investigated by the police and law enforcement officers in relation to the conduct of Advocate Downer, Senior Counsel, a Senior Deputy Director of Public Prosecution in the NPA, and he also wishes to extend his complaint of criminal wrongdoing to cover all other persons as reflected in the documents attached. The conduct that President Zuma demands be investigated by the South African Police Service relates to the contravention of Section 41 of the National Prosecuting Authority Act primarily, but extend to other criminal activities, particularly those reflected in the affidavit of Mr. Hofmeyer involving criminal interference in President Zuma's prosecution by foreign spies with the assistance of local investigators and prosecutors. His Excellency President Zuma believes that the interference of foreign spies contravene the law governing our intelligence services and would, in that regard, refer to the report of the JSCI referred to for further guidance. His Excellency President Zuma has no doubt that beyond the criminal conduct involving the leaking of confidential information to persons outside the NPA, the scope of the criminal conduct is far wide, and in the course of a diligent investigation, the SAPS will discover clear evidence showing the violation of Section 41 by the prosecutors, investigators, and other persons who are directly or indirectly involved in his case. The specific details of the criminal offences, which at this stage His Excellency President Zuma wished to report for criminal investigation and prosecution, are as follows. Then he lists the various counts, count 1, and then it gives the detail of what happened. Count 2, he lists another detail. Do you want me to read these counts? No. And then preliminary analysis. Then he goes through the preliminary analysis. Then it goes on, and he makes a point elsewhere that he is fully cognizant of the fact that the criminal conduct which he is reporting also forms part of totally separate and distinct ongoing proceedings in which he has raised a plea in the court sitting in Pietermaritzburg in terms of Section 106 1H of the Criminal Procedure Act. So there must be no confusion. There are two things. There's a Section 106 issue. While Section 106 issue was being dealt with, then this other criminality cropped up along the lines. I'm going to read the last paragraph. His Excellency President Zuma says he's prepared to give further clarifying statement under oath in support of the above, should that be deemed necessary. The criminal violations set out in the attached documents should serve as a useful basis of determining the scope of criminal investigation that the SAPS may conduct in his complaint and the inclusion of further suspects and or accomplices. And then it was signed. So that is the affidavit that His Excellency President Zuma submitted. And as I said, I'm just reading a copy here, but we've got the thing signed. You can have the copy, but if you don't have, if you want it electronically, I'll send it in the group. If you are not in the group, then you must give me your number. Don't take this if you've got a WhatsApp, if you are in the WhatsApp. Okay, sorry. Okay, on my right here is the attorney of His Excellency President Zuma, Mongezi Ntanga. So if there are questions that are maybe too tricky for me, I'm sure he can handle. So